Am I the bad guy for not wanting to go to my brother's wedding, even though the bad blood was 2 years ago? This is a bloody mess and I'm shaking right now. I am a cardiologist and have been for the past 22 years. I was also single mother to my 16-year-old daughter, who passed away 2 months before her 17th birthday in 2020. She had cancer when she was 14 and was in remission on her 16th birthday. One day she just collapsed. It happened in front of me. I was the one who gave her CPR. It was the worst feeling in my life, and I still have nightmares about it. We took her to a hospital, but she was gone. She was dealing with a lot of side effects from her treatment and was very weak, but she was determined to get better. But her body just gave out. On my daughter's birthday in 2021, I was a mess. My brother, future sister-in-law, and mom had been keeping my company because I couldn't function at all. We were just talking about some happy memories, and my brother expressed sadness that his niece wouldn't be at his wedding. My future sister-in-law then chimed up and said, "Yeah, well, that's sad. And if me had been better at her job, she wouldn't be alive." She justified it by saying that she was close to my daughter and made her a bridesmaid. She was devastated too by her death. So, to this day, I cannot describe what I feel when I heard those words from her mouth. I don't remember much after that, but I just started sobbing. My mom and my brother were glaring at my sister-in-law and they left, as if my guilt already wasn't enough. They're getting married, and my brother came over to invite me personally. I told him I'm not coming, I don't want to see her face at all. My brother said that I shouldn't let bygones by bygones, and my grief is not the only one that matters. I pretty much limited contact after the incident, but I'm not ready to face her. It serves as a reminder of my own failure, and I still deal with a lot of guilt. But he's my only sibling, and we used to be very close. He's helped me a lot through all this. So, also, I just got back from work and I'm reading your responses. Thank you for your support and kind words. So, the doctor part of my mind doesn't know that what till cancer cares on one's body, but the mom part of me will probably never get over it. I'm in therapy, and some days are more of a struggle than rest. And also, to clarify, my sister-in-law did not apologize. My mom told me that she meant that since I've worked in hospitals, I've seen death and I should work through my pain. I'm still conflicted on whether or not I should attend their wedding because my daughter was so excited and determined to get better for it. I want to support my brother and my sister-in-law because I did spiral down after my daughter's death, and they quite literally sustained me. They've cooked meals and tidied up my house. I feel I haven't been supportive of their grief journey. So, am I the bad guy? Am I the bad guy for not wanting my nephew live with us? My wife and I are both in our early 40s. With two awesome kiddos ages 8 and 10. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law used to live near us, until one day they decided they wanted to be closer to the city and to their work. They moved to a nice neighborhood, which at the time was new, expensive, and also flashy. However, the neighborhood schools were also new, and although the district was good, it's anyone's guess how the neighborhood school was going to turn out. We continue living in our home, which we choose because it made sense financially and was in a very good school district. Our kids go to a competitive and highly rated public charter school, and it turned out brother-in-law, sister-in-law wasn't too happy with their neighborhood school or school district and wanted their eldest kid, my nephew who's entering high school, to enroll in ours. Using our home address, I didn't think it was a good idea, but my wife agreed to allow them to use our address, and she always allows her sibling to dictate what they want to do. You could almost describe her as a pushover when it comes to her side of the family. Well, my nephew was accepted into our school through a lottery system using our address, which in itself was probably hard because him using our address also kicked me and our kids got unenrolled because there could only be one address per family. I had to prove to our own school, which we did not move, and re enroll our kids for next year. As far as I'm currently aware, both of us and nephew are still using our actual home address and enroll in the school. Now it hits my brother-in-law, sister-in-law that driving every day to drop off and pick up was going to be near impossible because they're 40 minutes away. And at snow and winter, and they're looking at 60 minutes easy. Their solution was to have him move in with us for a short while. I knew this was going to happen and told my wife. And we get a lot of help from our parents regarding after school activities for our kids because both of us work in long hours. Essentially, my parents will not take care of our kids and my nephew because of poor planning and selfishness of my brother, sister-in-law, with no pay because we're family. My wife doesn't see this as an issue. So I'm at the beggar for not wanting our nephew to live with us, and now thinking of getting him kicked out of our school district. I'm at the beggar for telling my daughter she will never be on the same level as her friends' childhood friends. My daughter met this girl 4 years ago at the marathon, where they both did extremely well and a friendship blossomed. They have a lot in common. They both like music, running, workout, art, TV shows, etc. And they both are at the same university, albeit doing different courses. My daughter visited me or us, wife and her brother, and she basically let a lot of stuff out about her friendship with this girl recently. She talked about how she feels like their friendship will never be close and knit like she wants. She talked about how she feels her friend is way closer to her childhood friends and how she feels jealous seeing pictures on social media of them on nights out and partying. She feels like her friend is talking to her less and less, both in person and social media, and not making time for her. She talks about how she's gone back through her old social media and feels jealous seeing the old photos of her friendship with her childhood friends. Finally, she said the straw that broke the camel's back for her was that on her birthday 2 weeks ago, her friend didn't wish her happy birthday. She said she tried to then visit her friend at her accommodation, but no answer. She mentioned how she feels betrayed with how she made a big presentation of her friend's birthday earlier this year. She was really emotional throughout this telling. My wife, her mom, obviously was trying to console her and telling her to keep working on it. I, however, had a different stance. I told her basically that she's never going to be on the same level as her friends' childhood friends. They've been friends since childhood. They've gone through school and all those trials together, and they know each other inside out. I told my daughter that she has no acceptance when maintaining her friendship with that girl. I advised her to try to look back at her friendship with her friends over the years. Work on consolidating connections with them. And then there is nothing wrong with being less emotionally invested in this friend. On top of all this, one other important detail. I didn't say this to her. Her friend is 20, she is 25. To put the age difference into perspective, she was born in the 1990s, while her friend was born in 2003. With childhood's experiences are broadly similar, but the difference is difficult to ignore. My daughters didn't react well to my advice. She said that I was telling to settle for less and I'm putting her down. And she said that feels a bit connection with her friend, which I had no real answer to. We got into an agreement. I told her to grow up and she left. I do feel how she's acting incredibly childish. However, I do feel empathetic for her, as the last few years have difficult for her socially, and I feel her social skills have really declined. On top of that, having met her friend personally, she's a really lovely, warm, friendly, and sweet girl, and I can see why my daughter feels close with her. I'm at the bag for complaining that my 31-year-old stepsister still lives with my dad, while I moved out when I was 18. Basically, my parents divorced when I was a kid. Both parents remarried, and my siblings and I live with my low-income mom and her subsequent low-income partner. My step-siblings, who came into the picture a few years later, live with their mom and my high-income dad. This situation meant that I had to move out when I was 18 because my mom downsized, but my stepsister had been able to live with my dad since she was a teenager and still does, now that she's 31. She pays my dad no rent, has a fully remote job, and shows no willingness to move out. And I have a life. I resent this because it has been a real struggle for me to get myself set up since I left my home over a decade ago. And a lot of what I earn goes of living costs. Well, she doesn't have to worry about any of that. My dad even brought her on a holiday to Australia a few years ago, and he has never done that for me. I told my dad the situation has made me angry because I think it's unfair, and my stepmom told me to leave her kids alone. I feel like I'm losing my mind over this because I burn with resentment over it. But at the same time, the cost of living is insane, and my stepsister isn't a bad person. So am I the beggar for taking issues with this? If so, how do I get over the soul-destroying resentment I feel? Am I the beggar for choosing to celebrate my sister's birthday instead of my dad's wedding? I have always been close with my youngest sister, Mary. Mary has been overlooked by my dad from the moment she was born. My dad never wanted a daughter, and tensions with his ex-wife, Mary's mom, led to him basically excluding her from everything. Nothing she ever does is good enough for him, and she is often excluded from family gatherings. I always try my best to include her and even take her out, just the two of us to make her feel better. But it's obvious that being excluded hurts her a lot. I'm my dad's golden child and grew up spoiled then, while she tries not to show it. I can tell Mary is jealous of the attention my dad gives me. A month from now, it's Mary's 21st birthday, and she's very excited about it. I live in a different state, but I made a promise to fly over on her birthday so that I could take her to get her first drink. We have been planning this for months, and I already got the tickets. My dad is currently engaged to Janice, and a few days ago he texted me letting me know that their wedding plans changed and they planned to get married in her parents' yard on June 8th. He said he knew it. Short notice, but they agreed that a small ceremony would be better, so they could go to the beach for their honeymoon while it was still nice. Now my problem isn't the short notice. My problem is that June 8th just so happens to be Mary's birthday. Like not even the day before or later. He had plans to get married on his daughter's birthday. I brought that up and my dad brushed it off saying it's just a date. And it wasn't like my sister was going to celebrate her birthday with us anyways. I told my dad I already had plans to fly down and celebrate Mary's birthday with her, and I wouldn't be able to make both events. He seems shocked by this, and asked why I didn't just cancel for his wedding since I'm already paying to come down. I couldn't even bring Mary along and celebrate her there if it meant that much to me. I will admit this pissed me off because the least they couldn't do was acknowledge his daughter's birthday. I told my dad that I planned to spend my day with Mary, and the only way I will come to his wedding is if she's invited and decided to go. He tried to argue with me, saying that birthdays come every year and weddings don't, which I responded that this is his third, so it's not that special, but my sister turned 21. My dad hasn't spoken to me since then, but Janice and other family have been calling and texting me non-stop. Janice told me that my dad has been crying and miserable over what I said, and that my selfishness has ruined his wedding. I'll admit that what I say may be harsh, but I also stand by it. I'm not the one being selfish here. And if my dad wants his child at his wedding so badly, he can have all or nothing. However, my dad and family are still mad at me and saying that I'm being petty in ruining his big day, so am I the bad guy? And also, just want to clarify a few things here, since I've been getting a lot of the same questions and I don't think I can respond to everyone. So Mary is in fact my dad's biological daughter. There was never any suspicion of her mom cheating, and from physical features alone, it's obvious she's his. I don't know exactly why he hates her. We always just assumed it was something to do with her being a girl, or my dad hating her mom. He divorced her not even a year after Mary was born, and basically said he wanted nothing to do with either of them. I've tried asking my dad about this and in the past, but he refuses to talk about what happened. Let me also clarify that Mary and I also share the same dad. My dad has been married twice before Janice, the first being my mom, and the second being Mary's mom. My dad is a known womanizer, which I believe is the reason his last two marriages didn't work out. But I could be wrong. So I don't really know Janice. They got together when I graduated college, and I don't really care to know her. Unfortunately, this also means I'm not sure what Janice knows about Mary, or if she even knows that Mary exists. But I'm hesitant to ask. Am I the bad guy for having a problem with my dad's new girlfriend? My mother passed away last year from a brain tumor after my father and I took care of her for about 4 months. At the time, we had a home care service. About 2 months after my dad's death, my father started a relationship with my mother's former caregiver. About 3 months later, he wanted her to move into our house, along with her daughter and 2 dogs. When I told my father that I didn't want that because everything was happened so fast for me, she told him that she will look for an apartment and didn't know how often they will be able to see each other. I caved in and said they could move in so that my father wouldn't be alone once I eventually move out. After that, they move in with us and everything just got worse. Whenever something doesn't go her way, she flips out, blames me, and threatens to move out, which then makes my father angry at me and puts all the blame on me. Around February of this year, I started having panic attacks and developed an anxiety disorder. Of course, I sought help from a therapist right away, and I will say I'm doing much better now. A few weeks ago, things escalated, and she threw it in my face that it's good I'm going to a psychologist so I can work on my self-reflection, and that I didn't care of my mother enough. Since then, I haven't exchanged a single word with her. Every time I try to talk about it with my father, he downplays the situation and refuses to take sides because he's afraid of being alone. I have decided to move out, and it will still take until June for me to move into the new apartment. Still then, living together has been hell, and she threatened my father again that she will move out. In response, my father messaging me saying that I'm well on my way to ruin everything with my behavior. I keep wondering if I'm fundamentally misunderstanding something, and if I'm the bad guy in this situation. Am I the bad guy for calling the police on my boyfriend's family? Last year, I moved in with my boyfriend and his dad. My boyfriend and I were in a long-distance relationship for a few years, and I moved across the country to be with him after I finished graduate school. Due to such a large distance, I opted to sell my car and buy a new one after moving. When I did this, my boyfriend helped me out by loaning me some money to help pay the down payment, but I have since paid him back. Last week, my boyfriend's oldest sister, who lives in another state, comes to visit and stayed in the house with us. This was my first time meeting her, and I thought she was very nice, but I don't get to know her well. 2 days ago, my boyfriend and I were out running together, and his sister called him to ask when he will be back so she could borrow his car to go hang out with her friends in a town about an hour away. He told her it will be a while, and she then asked if it was okay to borrow my car. My boyfriend asked me, and I told him I was not comfortable with that, and to tell her no. My boyfriend did tell her no. I heard the entire conversation. Well, a few hours later, my boyfriend and I got home, and my car was gone. I was shocked, and my boyfriend was confused. When we went into the house, his dad informed us that he gave my boyfriend's sister the spare key to my car that was in the lockbox because she said she needed to go somewhere. My boyfriend told him that she asked to drive my car and that he had told her no, so he didn't understand why she was allowed to take it, and his dad said that since my boyfriend helped pay for this car, it therefore was partly his, which meant his sister had the right to drive it as well. I was absolutely livid and couldn't believe that anyone would do something like this. My name is the only one on the title, insurance, etc., and I'm the sole owner. My boyfriend told his dad to call her and told her to bring my car back immediately, and she said she will be home soon. Well, after 2 hours, I called the police and reported my car as stolen because I was worried that if it got damaged or something, then I will be forced to pay the repairs, even though it was my fault. My boyfriend's dad and sister were pissed about this, and they assumed me for trying to get them arrested. They're now demanding that I apologize to them and tell the police it was all a misunderstanding, but I really don't. I don't want, because I feel that they've tried to take advantage of me. My boyfriend agrees with me, but he even said he thinks calling the police to report the car stolen may have been too far. So, what do you think about it? Am I the bad guy?